Hello there. Now, I'm one of the very few people that managed to get into Court 3 today to see Tommy grab his opportunity for a Crown Court trial before a jury. So, Tommy did well today. He actually did, because he had a fair judge, from what I can see, and he got his jury trial in front of a Crown Court, something he's wanted for a long time, because he's got fed up with every time he goes into a court, there is just a magistrate or a judge to tell him his fate and decide what goes on and whether he's guilty or innocent. This time he gets a Crown Court and a jury trial. Now, I will say that when I came into the court area, approaching the buildings, there was about 6 to 8 vans outside, full of police, flashing lights, the lot, all tooled up, ready to go. And I thought, yes, I've heard this is normal for Tommy, but it does seem strange, because all we're going into is he's just going to go in and plead guilty or not guilty and discuss a couple of things before he wends his merry way. And also there were a lot of press there, lots and lots of them, despite there being a sort of a light drizzly rain that kept us all damp throughout. I sat in the court actually all damp, just like everyone else. And with all those people there, I was thinking, do they know something that we don't? Because it had occurred to me beforehand that magistrates do have the power to actually remand people in custody between the plea stage, which was today for Tommy, and the first hearing that they get either in a magistrate's court or in Crown Court later. And that could have meant more solitary confinement for Tommy while they waited for months for a time slot to come up for the trial to actually take place. So I was a little bit worried about that. However, that did not happen, and the judge seemed very fair. In fact, he was he was fair again, and it worked against the prosecution. So, it wasn't that bad after all. Anyway, when I got there, I talked to a few people, did a couple of interviews with people, and then I went into the front of the queue. So I was ready to go in, because I knew that if I waited until later, there's no chance of getting in, because it takes so long to go through the process of taking your coat and your jackets off, and you're emptying your pockets, them scanning you and all the rest of it. Being me, because although I was at the front of the queue, I did hold things up for a while, because I forgot a couple of metal objects in my pockets, and the exasperated court official who was scanning me kept saying, "There's another one there." "Oh yeah, I forgot that," so filling up this tray full of metal objects. And in the end I got through. Even my braces have metal objects on them, and they were pinging away quite nicely, but we got there in the end, and I was able to wend my way upstairs to get to the front of the entrance to court number 3, which was where the event was going to take place. And I noticed a little piece of paper just stuck to the wall outside, and that's had the sort of the name of the people that were going to be in court that morning, including Tommy Robinson, or Stephen Yaxley Lennon, as it says there. And there it said the prosecution was some sort of special prosecutor. It didn't say the Crown Prosecution Service, it said special prosecution or something like that, which sort of, maybe they've got a special prosecutor just for Tommy. Anyway, that sort of got a few selfies, but then we noticed the notice on the wall which said no filming or taking of photographs in the court. But the notice was about this big, it was very small, so it's not like it was staring you in the face. Anyway, I digress. So we went to the front of the queue, and when they opened the doors to let people in, they let the press in. So I don't know, dozen press or something like that. They're the ones with the cards that say they're press. I can't do that, because I haven't got a little card that from a National Union of Journalists to say I'm a journalist, nor has Tommy, I don't think. So I had to just wait until that happened, and then they came out and said the fateful words, something along the lines of, the first 13 can come in. and you have never seen the crowd press forward so much. And I managed to make sure that my shoulders were wide enough to get in there and to actually get a seat. And then I looked round me and noticed that there were quite a lot of the fairer sex in there. They'd managed to get in ahead of the blokes. And I thought, that's interesting. Then I remembered the January sales and the sharp elbows that they've developed over the years. Or is that being sexist? But no, they managed to get in. And when it was sort of full with the 13 of us that had the 13 or 14 seats, whatever it was, Tommy did have a word with the court officials and the judge, and they let some more people in. Very unusually, I gather, because normally you have to sit down and it has to be sort of orderly and everything. But they let some people come in, and they were allowed to stand because they wanted extra people in. I think the judge was making a point that the court was doing its best to be seen to be public and all the rest of it and open. Well, and that was the sort of first sign that things, aren't as bad as maybe we think they are, or maybe this is an unusual judge. Although it was the head honcho, it was the chief magistrate doing this, Judge Goldspring. If you look him up, he's the head honcho there, so he was running the show. So that was, another good sign, a head honcho who's fair in the legal system, in the judiciary. That had us floored for a moment that this was, we expected to see some nasty old guy pointing fingers and all that. No, wasn't like that at all. So, yeah. Anyway, that's just sort of to set the scene, really. And then Tommy was put in the dock, but the dock isn't what you remember it as, a wooden box that you stand in and you're sort of he was behind a glass barrier, just like we in the public gallery were behind a glass barrier, and it had little slots in it where you could hear what the judge was saying and what was being said by the prosecution and the defence counsel. And Tommy was in his own little glass area for the defendants. And he had to keep pressing his face up against the glass where one of these slots was. So that I think he might have had trouble hearing because of these. It just seemed a bit strange having all these glass things around. But maybe that's security these days. I don't know. It was thick glass. Might even have been bulletproof. I don't know. Anyway, they went through the what's your name, your date of birth, and your address. Now the address was just a little bit of a point. They've lodged his address as his solicitor's address so that he can't sort of be chased down or anything like that. And the prosecution and the defence both all agreed on this. And then we came up with the thing about the bail, because there were bail conditions to be set. And the prosecution had come out with what they wanted the bail conditions to be. And the judge was not happy. He was not happy with those bail conditions. He said they were far too tight and far too draconian. That's not the words he used, that's my words, but that's what it sounded like. Basically, they were so tight that if I said something out of sorts about his case right now on this camera, it would be Tommy's fault. That was how it was set up originally. That's how the prosecution wanted it set up. Anywhere in the world says something about Tommy's case, even though Tommy's not involved and never told them to say it, he's liable. The judge said, oh no, you're not getting away with that. We're not having that. So he loosened it all up and made it very Tommy specific that he can't do things. But the rest, he said everyone else should just go by the usual rules. And they should have opinions. They should be able to air opinions about things. As long as it doesn't fall foul of the sub judice rules. So they shouldn't just be blanket shut up. And we were sort of looking at each other going, what's this, a free speech judge? Because he actually said that. People would only accuse us of not allowing free speech. He said that. And we were going, well, whoa, wow. And then a couple of us were going, well, actually, Tommy might have been better off just sticking with this judge. But there's no guarantee it would have been that judge. So it is good that you hear stuff like this. And the fact that they let more people in than they normally do, and also this sort of whole free speech concept, says to me that this trial Tommy Robinson is having an impact. He's actually having an impact on what's going on. He's forcing the pace. I'm not sure they'd have done that before. I really don't. I'm wondering if the smaller people, I say smaller people, that's the wrong way to put it, if what one would normally call a normal defendant who no one knows about, whether they would get the same treatment. Maybe we're seeing the super tanker of this is how the law will do you, turning round to be more of a service to the people. I don't know. It's just a thought of mine. Now, it's all ended sort of about there, and apart from the fact, and here's the big one, that Tommy, when offered, the judge explained to him that because he was there in the magistrate's court and it was a serious type crime, although it could be dealt with in the magistrate's court, because he had pleaded not guilty, obviously he pleaded not guilty, so he pleaded not guilty, then he gets the chance for a Crown Court trial before a jury. And he just said, Crown Court, that was it, going to Crown Court, So that's it. And the date has been set for Crown Court, which is the 3rd of July this year. Okay, 3rd of July. Now, I think that's going to be a management meeting, a case management meeting, where they sort out bits and pieces about when the case actually starts running. But I think that's the first stage will be some sort of case management meeting about hearing about all of this and how they're going to run it. Now, the bail conditions that Tommy's under prevents him from actually, referring to the prosecution, the people that brought the charges against him, or trying to interfere with them or anything like that, all the normal stuff. And if he does breach those bail conditions, they can imprison him. They can arrest him and lock him up and remand him in custody until the actual date of the trial. So I'm sure that he'll keep a very clean nose from now on, and because the bail conditions come into force straight away. So I'm sure he'll be obeying all of that to make sure that he can't be put back inside. That's the last thing he needs. He needs to be outside. Can you imagine being up for a charge and not being out on the outside and able to fully research, talk to people, find a different solicitor, all this sort of thing? Can you imagine the stress of you're just sat in a cell waiting, hoping that someone's doing something? That must be awful, but it does happen quite a lot. Anyway, when that all finished, we sort of wended our way outside the court, and that's when Tommy disappeared. I think he went off probably went one of the conference rooms and had a chat with someone, if they'd booked a conference room, maybe with his solicitor. I don't know. In fact, I only had a couple of words with him, when he was sort of walking with other people. We just had a quick chat, hi, and all, thanks for coming sort of thing, the usual stuff. So I didn't have a chance to have a sit down or a lengthy chat at all with him. And then when he came out, I managed to get outside the courthouse itself into the entrance area, and it was absolutely cram-packed with people. It was every time someone appeared, you could almost hear them waiting to scream, Tommy, 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 because it was him. Actually, it was just me. So they went, oh, well, and let me out. So I got back out, and it was still raining. I got even wetter. And then I went round to some areas where Tommy had actually managed to come out in the end. It took quite a long time. I think it was about 20 minutes or so before he came out. Then when he did come out, he was just absolutely boof, everyone around him. He couldn't move. And you can see from the footage that he's just hemmed in, and he's talking, so he does what he does best. He's talking to everybody and putting across his side. Hopefully that he didn't go against those bail conditions. I couldn't actually hear what he said. I'm going to have to wait and see the film myself by whoever recorded it and gets it up there. And the press had brought all their little step ladders. They bring little step ladders with them so they can stand at the back and hold their cameras up. So that was quite funny. People tripping over those and try. It was a real scrum to try and get anywhere near him. And then I decided, I knew sort of which way he was going, so I went and headed it off and waited there. But it was like the England forwards, this thing just came rumbling down the pathway, and I was sort of swept up with it. But it's a funny old thing. There was a couple of security, or because what Tommy's team had actually done was provided stewards to try and control what was going on when they came out. So they had their stewards' aprons on, and they were trying to help people and keep things going, keep the pavement as clear as possible, and make sure that Tommy was moving towards getting out of the area. But it was very, very difficult. Anyway, two of the stewards saw me and they recognised me, grabbed me and pulled me in so I could get nearer to Tommy. But it didn't help because it was just so close. And as you can see, I was right up close to the guy, but there's nothing I could have done. I couldn't have sort of said, "Now we're going to talk about your future," and all this sort of thing. It was noisy, it was ruckus. And the only thing I did catch was something about, "I like curry," is what he said, or a certain type of curry. So yeah, that was a bit funny. And then he moved off into around the corner down the road where the police vans were still there. But I think it was Liam said, this is stupid, we've just got to go. So any plans they had, they just changed, moved across the road, taxi rank, in the taxi, and off they sped, which was probably the right decision given the circumstances. So yeah, it was quite a bit of a day that was, and I got absolutely thoroughly soaked. So all I can say is, yeah, if you're going to come to one of these things, don't be like me and think, "Oh, it'd be all right." It was cold and wet, and it's June. It must be that global dampening or something that's doing all of this. Now, what I will say is that I'll do my best to be at the event on the next court case, and there is also the football lads due in late June. I can't offhand remember the date, so someone can put it in the comment section and all the rest of it, and I might I'll find out when it was and I'll put it somewhere. Is it the 28th, Saturday the 28th, I think, springs to mind. I may be wrong, but that's about the groomers. So that's really important. That message is always, have you noticed that as soon as anything happens, the government, everything, just the groomers just go. The whole issue just disappears. And it is the most important issue we've had for decades. And they've been burying it. Tommy's not part of that burying it. He still has to attend these court sessions, and that's beyond his control. But no. Everyone else keeps trying to bury them, and it's Tommy that keeps it alive. He really does, and certain other people, and he brings the groomers to the forefront quite a lot, and I'm hoping he's going to keep doing that, because it's a national shame. It really is a national shame, and I just cry for those poor youngsters. Should never have happened, ever. First hint of it happening, and Plod should have been all over it with steel toe-cap boots, the lot, because that was the robust policing. It was softly policing. But I think we're going to hear a lot more about this from Tommy himself, with an new upcoming documentary, which could be quite illuminating. Anyway, I think I've said enough about all of this, and I'm sure there's more to come, and I've probably missed loads of stuff that happened, and I'll probably go away and watch this film and go, "Oh no, I missed this out, I missed that out." I'm sorry, but I'm just running off of memory at the moment, so and I haven't got one of those because I'm too old. So anyway, it's great to have you watching, and I hope you enjoyed what I've said, and I hope you can get a pen picture of what happened today and where we're going with it. And so all I can say is please like, subscribe and comment below, and please do consider becoming a member of the channel. The membership is growing slowly, it is growing, and we hope to build that up and give more content to people who really enjoy it and are willing to pay a bit more. That's all it is, really. We just want to give back more, because people do give us stuff anyway. They do give us money, and if they're going to give it to us, they may as well give it to us in the form of a membership, which we can reward with more content. Anyway, enough from me, and I'll say see you next time.